I never thought something as small as a childhood toy could shake my whole sense of reality, but here I am, sitting on my couch, staring at another little package on my doorstep, wondering if I've completely lost it. I'm 44, and for the past few months, someone has been leaving things from my childhood outside my apartment. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, maybe some kind of weird donation mistake or a prank. But then it kept happening, and each item seemed more personal than the last. It started with a tiny music box I hadn't seen since I was 8. I remember it vividly. It was pastel pink with tiny hand-painted flowers, and it used to sit on my dresser. One morning, I opened my door, and there it was, sitting neatly on the welcome mat. My first thought was, who would know I still even remember this? My second thought was, okay, this is probably nothing. Maybe the mailman had a weird sense of humor. But then came the next morning. A small box containing my old sketchbook from when I was 10. Every page was full of scribbles, childish drawings, and my first attempts at writing stories. I opened it, and I swear I could hear my younger self laughing from the margins. That's when the worry started. Not the mild, oh how cute worry, but the kind that twists your stomach and makes you double-check that you locked your door. I told my family about it. My sister just laughed. Oh, come on. You're overreacting. It's probably just a neighbour finding your old junk in the trash. My mum raised an eyebrow but didn't seem too concerned. Maybe it's someone trying to make you smile, she said casually, like that explained everything. But deep down, I knew this wasn't random. There was something deliberate in the way the items were chosen, in the timing. It felt like someone was reaching out to me and they wanted me to feel it. Weeks passed and the packages continued. There were more toys, my old diary thankfully intact, even a pair of worn-out ballet slippers I'd thought lost forever. Each time, I felt a mix of nostalgia and creeping unease. My life had been fairly ordinary, and now suddenly, someone was resurrecting pieces of my childhood that I hadn't thought about in decades. It wasn't just strange, it was personal. I started keeping a log, every package, what was inside, what day it arrived. It became like a game, but a terrifying one. The more I documented, the more patterns I noticed. Almost always, the items arrived when I had been particularly stressed or after arguments with my sister or mum. It was as if whoever was doing this knew me better than I realized. And then came the turning point. One evening, I opened the door to find an old Polaroid of me at age 7 sitting on the porch. I'd never seen this photo before. My parents had never shown it to anyone. My heart raced. Whoever was leaving these things wasn't just digging through my childhood. They were digging into my life in ways that no outsider could, and suddenly, the fear became personal. This wasn't a neighbor. This was someone who knew me, really knew me. I started asking questions, carefully. Not to strangers, but within the family. I couldn't tell anyone outside. They'd just think I was paranoid. And my family's reactions were frustrating. My sister, still teasing me, said, "Maybe it's your ex trying to mess with your head, or just a random creep." My parents shrugged. People do strange things sometimes. Easy for them to say. They weren't the ones finding boxes of their lost childhood strewn on the porch. Then, I remembered something my therapist had once said about intuition. If something feels off, it usually is. So I started to pay attention to subtle clues, times of day, delivery patterns, even handwriting on some of the small notes tucked inside the boxes. And that's when it hit me. These weren't random. The notes weren't long letters or creepy messages, they were short, sometimes just one word, but often signed with initials I recognized. I couldn't believe it at first. But slowly, a horrifying realization took shape. The person leaving these things wasn't a stranger. It was family. I just couldn't place exactly who yet. One day, I came home to find a package sitting under a streetlight outside my building. It was heavier this time. Inside, there was a carefully wrapped box, and on top, a small envelope. I opened it. I just want you to remember me. I'm still here. I'm sorry I never knew how to reach you. My hands shook. The handwriting was familiar, terribly familiar. I looked at the items inside. My old doll, the first pair of roller skates I ever owned, a miniature photo album I had made when I was 9, all things only someone who had spent time with me as a child would know intimately. And then it clicked. One cousin, my mother's side, someone who had always been a bit different, withdrawn. My cousin had struggled with mental health issues for years, and as far as I knew, we hadn't had real contact in over 20 years. Could it really be them? The thought was terrifying and strangely heartbreaking. I confronted my mum, hesitant, careful, trying not to accuse anyone outright. And after a long pause, she finally admitted it. "It's your cousin," she said quietly. "They've been lonely. They wanted to reconnect, but they don't know how to do it properly. They thought if they sent these things, you'd understand they still care." Everything I felt in that moment was tangled. Relief, fear, guilt, empathy. I wanted to scream at them for scaring me half to death, but I also understood they were lost in their own world, trying to reach someone they love. We talked to them, slowly, carefully. It wasn't easy. There was anger, confusion, tears, but in the end, we managed to have an honest conversation. They admitted they didn't know any other way to reconnect than through these strange, eerie packages. They didn't want to hurt me, they just didn't know any other way to say, "I remember you, I care about you." Now, months later, we're still rebuilding that connection, carefully, gently. They've started writing letters instead of leaving mysterious packages. And while I'll never forget the fear I felt every time I opened my door, I also can't ignore the fact that it brought someone back into my life who had been lost to us all for decades. So yes, my family thought I was overreacting. And yes, it was terrifying. But sometimes, people express love in ways we don't expect. And sometimes, we need to confront that fear to rediscover the connections we've forgotten. If there's one thing I've learned from all this, it's that family and the ties that bind us aren't always neat or tidy. Sometimes, they're a little strange, a little frightening, and sometimes they arrive on your doorstep in the middle of the night. But they're still worth fighting for. So, if you're watching this and wondering whether you're overreacting, trust your gut. And also, don't ignore the people who might just be trying to reach you in the only way they know how.